Joe, Joe, you come up here and sit. Yeah, I don't think the students will be here. Okay. Rob, is he here?
It's coming. Rick is coming. Yep.
Yeah, Rick is coming.
Rob, are the gentlemen with Rick coming?
Say it again?
Are the gentlemen with Rick coming to this meeting? He had two.
Oh, no, I don't think so. Just Rob and Rick are coming.
Okay. I'll
I
get
didn't realize
chairs.
Rick had anybody with him, to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay.
He had two minutes.
Okay.
I can get more chairs.
On.
Hey.
Good. How are you tonight?
All right. Family. Last one. My last one was official. Being here at the round table. I could pop in. Doing it as a participant in the audience. Well, Dennis, let's speak. Let's see a couple other people in the audience. I guess they're concerned about this. Oh. I don't know what-
Well, that looks like so low.
Because people are gonna ask, no, when I see the people in the audience, I knew it wasn't going to be a 15-minute meeting. I told them, it'll be 15 minutes, all we gotta do is vote on a couple of things. Now, look, people, yeah, what?
You can sit up here.
I left a Popeye at home.
Thank you.
Uh-oh, hopefully we just shake around here in an
I
hour.
hate the press guys. Come on. Make it a big deal. That's okay, the kid did. They said you had to have a super.
Yes.
No, I think it's,
Yes.
I thought it was 5,
Majority of the board is here.
I thought it was 5, the majority
And
of
they
the
said if
total.
anybody's not here, that's a no.
If you walk the middle, watch it.
Cheryl, plug in.
Okay.
Oh, okay. We're off.
Hey Cheryl, can you hear us?
Hi, Ray.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, grab a chair.
Who's that, Cheryl?
They asked us to sit up here.
Oh, there's other guys with my Zoom, you know?
Just Tim, Attorney Walker.
Turn it off.
She just came on the so it should. If it pops up down here, we can.
Jim, right?
What's that?
He's in the gym.
Oh, she's still doing
I
that.
think he's still doing the bocce thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
what longer than I was thinking it was gonna be.
I have no idea when they even started, to be honest. I don't remember.
I was like, "Come on, Tim."
Alicia. Alicia.
At 6 o'clock, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll start with our pledge of allegiance and vote of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Thacker? Here. Mr. Boland?
Here.
Mrs. Moyer?
Here.
Mrs. Ferry?
Here.
Mrs. Hartsfield? Ms. Lyda?
Here.
Mr. Loman?
Here.
Mr. Richburg?
Here.
Mr. Stackelrut?
Here.
Ms. Bonzo?
Absent.
Ms. Gar?
Absent.
And Ms. Ion.
Absent. All right, with that, we will start with our recognition of visitors. Please keep quiet. It's limited to 5 minutes per speaker for a total of 30 minutes overall. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board at this time?
Hello, can you hear me?
There you go.
I think most of the board here knows who I am. For the spectators, my name is Dennis Baker. I'm going to be on the board here in 8 more days, but I just wanted to address some issues that I have on my mind right now. But for the board members and the spectators, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on myself. I've been a self-employed building contractor for 45 years. And I've learned a lot over the years about building. I do know a lot about building. Don't know a lot about tech and all that stuff, but I do know a lot about building. But when we first seen these proposals, and the 10 company gave us a nice proposal and a nice binder and everything. And I got to doing a little research after looking at that, and the big topic tonight is putting in a boiler, because we all agree here that we do need to do some upgrades to the boiler. So I did a little research, and with North Clarion High School in 2022, they put a whole new boiler system in their building for $424,000. Keystone Elementary put a whole new boiler system in their school for $434,000, and that was in 2020. And I just talked to a maintenance supervisor at Oil City High School today. He said they rebuilt their boiler system, which consisted of a new pipes all through the boiler, new pumps, new firebox at a total cost of $65,000, which came with a 15-year warranty with that system. And so on our quote, the TENS gave us a price of $1,48984, and then they quoted to us that it would take 52 weeks to get that boiler. So that's why we needed to get it ordered, so we could at least get it installed in the summer of 2027. Now, these other schools, I asked the contractor, how long did it take to get the systems? And they said 8 to 10 weeks for the boiler systems. And so I know we're trying to decide tonight what to do about it because of the situation for 52 weeks. But we have the quote from 10, but we don't have any other quotes. We just have one quote to look at. And for me, there's basically about $1 million difference. And I'm not sure why there'd be that much different, because our boilers aren't really any different than North Clarion's boilers that they're putting in. So that's the one issue I have, is how we can justify spending an extra $1 million for what we could get the same thing for, maybe locally. And I know Mr. Boland has spoke that he said that 10 is in charge of all the building permits, zoning permits, inspections, and all that. Any local contractor that you hire, that's their job. When I do work for a customer, that's my job, is I get the zoning permit, I get the building permit, I'm in charge of all the inspections, and the customer doesn't pay me until they're completely satisfied with the quality of the workmanship. So I in charge of all that when I'm the general contractor. Now, I've been superintendent on a few jobs for a commercial company that actually did these boilers that I'm talking about. But I know we talked about on the bond issue, we need to get it passed tonight in order to save money for the 2025 year. And if we save a few dollars on the bond issue and then spend an extra $1 million that we may not have to, I don't know if that's very good wisdom on our part. But, and then Mr. Boland said that we don't even have an actual bid price from the 10 company yet. We just have the estimated quote. So I don't know if that's the actual number or if we're still going to get a different number at the time of installation. And anyways, and then hearing Mr. Lohman speak, we have issues at Victory, we have issues at Sandy Creek. And I think it just pushes through to just get a boiler system that we know it's going to break down at some point. Every machine breaks down at some point.
Mr. Baker, I'm gonna ask you to wrap it up. Your time is up.
Okay. But anyways, I just want you to think about those decisions as you're making your decisions, if you want to spend an extra $1 million like that.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board? Seeing none, we'll move on. Any correspondence?
Oh, we got some.
I didn't see, I'm sorry, come on up. Could you please state your name and your address, please?
Yes. Yes. It's working.
You turned it off. Probably turn it back
While
on.
he's working on, I'll let record reflect that Mr.
Working?
arrived at 6:00.
Yeah, this is, I'm John Fry, 441 Wendy Way here in Franklin. I have but one simple question, and that is, it was this, part of this was included in an issue that was tabled 1 week ago. Why is it now in a special meeting to do one piece of this before the board that's going to have to implement this is actually in place? So I'd like to understand why it's happening so fast.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board at this time? Would you state your name and your address for us, please, sir?
I'm Bill What? Is it on?
Yes,
There you go.
Bill Black. I live at 188 Nettles Lane in Franklin. I'm wondering why this is not whether it's urgent. Obviously, it's urgent that the boiler get replaced. Got to have heat. I'm wondering why there hasn't been more public discussion, newspaper, public hearings. Why all of a sudden, to me, this is an enormous amount of money. It's a tax situation which has to be paid. If there's other problems in other schools within the district, how do we pay for those also? Is there a contingency fund set up to cover all of these expenses? Or is this a future assessment that will have to be taken care of at some point? I am retired, kind of a fixed income. I'd like to know how this is going to be covered in, is it a 10-year process, a 20-year process? Heavens, I hope it's not a 50-year comp. I mean, we don't know that. All we see on this paper is well more than $1 million, and it was tabled. Tabled requires some discussion, not simply a vote. So that's what I'm asking for here, is some discussion, not just, we're going to do this. Thank you.
anyone else who wishes to address the board? Since we have a lot of new faces in the audience, I'm going to step out of what we typically do in a board meeting and just make you aware that during public comment, that is the public's time to address the board. It is not open dialogue, so don't think that we're ignoring or not hearing you. We are hearing, we are listening. We just don't do dialogues during this time. And Mr. Black, there has been discussion for the last 2 meetings that we've had on this. I just wanted to make you aware that we have had public discussion on it. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board at this time? All right, seeing none, we'll move forward to item.
Can I go with correspondence? Can I?
Yes.
All right, good. Yeah, obviously last week I had some points that, I need to get it closer. Can you guys hear me? Good? It's on. Good? Check. Okay. So, I mean, everybody saw the meeting by now. So I made some notes of things I want to say and do. So I got questions from the public, and number one, I want to say that the operations is a public meeting, and this is where we do discuss all this facility work. So everybody knows it. Is it in the paper, operations meeting?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So please attend for those. First of all, thanks, Dennis. You made me dig in. I dug in pretty darn good. You haven't received a response from me because I waited for the meeting to respond so everybody could hear my response. I guess the first question I'm hearing is why wouldn't you use Leon, our maintenance guy? Why would you pay a project manager? And not to fault Leon, but number one, Leon already has a job, but number two, he's not an expert in what they're doing. And we've had projects in the past where we've used school employees that are here for education to manage projects, and it didn't end well, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'll say it, like the softball field. There you go. What do you think, Gino? 200-300 hours of your time?
Minimum, yes.
That's a superintendent who, there was some kickback about us giving him a raise. Well, we spent more on him managing the softball field project than we did his raise. So I just want to point that out. The inspection and warranty, obviously, we did a roof project when I was in high school here, and there wasn't inspection, and it wasn't done correctly, and it impacted our warranty. It wasn't in the paper, but we did spend, I believe, north of $10 million of the school's budget to fix our roofs. Am I right? And this was recently. It was over $10 million on our roofs, $2.2 million on windows we spent. But I think in this case, the difference is we're looking at a project manager instead of just hiring contractors to do the work. But with the roofs, everybody may recall, I don't remember Ryan Fennick's brother's name, Sean. Those two were project managers, and they were very good, in my opinion. That roof was smooth. I don't think the board ever got involved, or the superintendent. And we shouldn't. That's exactly right. So and I also want to put in this, hopefully, what I'm going to do tonight, hopefully I get some feedback on this because I want to see if this is a way people want to receive information in the future. So please keep that as I talk here. So the North Clarion and Keystone projects, those prices were accurate that you got. But the projects were entirely different. Was this the problem? We're looking at boiler room renovation, not just replacing a boiler. There's a lot more to this. So in that is a design, but I want to say they're also doing the concrete pads. They're demoing the whole room in there. All the pads, exhaust, electrical pipes, air separator, expansion tanks, gas lines, valves, insulation controls, all the electrical. And when I said the design wasn't done, I was wrong. Design is done. I will say after the meeting, when I went right to 10 and said, why is your price so high? And They didn't do the typical reaction of where they reduced price. They said, here's why, and put it all right on the table. We have it all, like per item, this is what you're paying. But then, sorry, Heckenstein, I'm just gonna generalize your company, okay? We were looking at a drawing and he says, well, here's why they're doing this and doing this. I'm like, wow, I didn't understand we were doing this much work. I just thought we were talking about boiler replacement. He goes, no, this isn't just a boiler replacement. And I said, well, show me. So he showed me the prints. So what I want to do tonight, and it's going to be kind of different. I want to go down to the boiler room with them and them say, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. I want to come back here. All right. I want an overview of the project, explanation of why you selected the equipment and why you selected the work we're going to do. And then why are you doing it that way? I guess is the best way I could word it. Because I for one, was a little confused. I just thought this was a boiler replacement. It's so much more. So I did email Dr. Thomas and ask, can we take the cameras and everything down to the boiler room? And he said, yes. So that's what I want to do. And then we'll come back. Are you okay with that? Field trip, first one as a board member in 6 years.
30 feet that way.
What I want to do moving forward, if everybody likes this, as we look at projects, let's look at it in person. And they explain it to us in person with our audiences so they can see what these contractors are talking about. And if we question what they're doing, question them. All right. And then we're going to come back. And I think Garrett's going to speak to the financial end of this. If anyone wants to question Garrett's ability to dig into numbers, good luck. He's the one that made the tax comment about us not increasing taxes over the past few years that hurt the school district, which I didn't like to hear, but he was correct if you look at the big picture. And then I want 10 to wrap this up at the end of saying, okay, we've done this part. Now what's the plan for moving forward from here? We understand the high school's not going anywhere, but what's the plan? There's so many unknowns. You guys need to be prepared to answer those.
Will there be an opportunity for the board members to speak as well?
How about when we come back?
Okay,
Is that cool?
yeah, that's
Okay,
cool with
thank
me.
you.
I'm not going to object to this time, but I think we need to be very careful moving forward. This is not precedent setting, and we need to get legal counsel involved in this because we have one employee, and it's Dr. Thomas, and I think we're overstepping and getting into the weeds and places that the board shouldn't be.
Okay.
I agree.
Can we look at the boiler room so we can see what we're talking about? So everybody can know what this all is. Oh, so they can watch from there. Okay.
That's my preference.
I don't know.
You don't, yeah, I'm just gonna look at the boiler room. Has anybody in here seen the boilers? Like, oh, sorry, one school employee. To see, if you see this room, you're gonna understand so much more of why. And then when Garrett explains the financials, it's gonna make sense, a lot more sense. I mean, before this
Andy,
was,
while we're getting this set up, can you tell me, did the operations committee see this stuff before you're doing this dog and pony show for the rest of us?
yep,
Okay, well, I don't want anybody to go out of their way so I can see it because you guys are on the committee and making the recommendations, so I don't really need to see the boiler room.
okay. But seeing it will, this project will make so much more sense when you can see this room.
Okay, well, I mean, just the instrument in, I understand it, but even outside of that, this is out of my realm. Like,
Cheryl Fair.
I think this is ridiculous. I agree.
Well, whoever wants to go down and look at it, how about that? Can I propose that? If you want to see the work we're gonna do, swing down, then we'll come back and discuss it. We won't ask any questions down there. They're gonna watch on the screen, TV screen. Yeah, the public's gonna have to watch on the screen, is what he said, Dilma. It's only gonna take us a few minutes to walk through and come back. Are you guys able to put the plans on that TV screen for the building? Like the building drawing?
I just have to get my laptop.
Okay. Yeah. Who believes Leon? So was
So you all know you have some pretty significant.
The audio's on. Are you okay?
More looks the same. This is the block looks the same. You have to give we had the chair group did it. I'll say I guess we did all the time. Maybe do something like that. So these are pneumatic air compressors that provide control here to the odor control within the school. Okay. Behind you are the heating pumps. Two are on duty, two are on standby at all times. We're installed two different renovations. Two were original from 1962. Second, installed So the school primarily built up two boilers behind duty, one on duty, one on standby. 1962, these two main pumps. 76, we fixed them with them on. They put a third boiler and then installed the other circulating pumps. And then in 95, the two original boilers were torn out. And these two boilers were put in. So these are 95.
Are they in bad shape?
They're correct. They're all fully. Now, the casters do crack. They do fail. They're not together with you fix if you are in the aftermarket are on issues and that. So these no 4500 for no longer. So you can replace the burner. If you find that stock second and replace that, you do have second replacement for years. You have humidification. Humidification. If they lost, just leakage. Yeah, there's chemical-free. Whatever, right? This was had, I think it's brown or blue. Yeah, super out. You got that on track. So, yeah. So these are small boilers. Got boils inside. Is that what they were installed? So they're 10. So our proposal includes area out, replace a condensing footprint of the appliances, because they're slightly smaller, to free up more space again where there was never a third boiler, or you got to go put them again. Yeah. My proposal includes lock and bar presses, Hellcat Series 4, which are what, cast iron? No, stainless. All fireproof stainless. Stainless? Yeah, they're a. I would say the mat boiler, 60 BTUs each. 96, 98% if the water temperature is condensing mode. Condensing temperature. Do you have the air in? You don't know. No, yeah. So that's the proposed appliances with new filter pumps. Your constructability wise, all going to be hard to hold up hot air. Get new appliances in. So we can break it in. And then put a rigging setup so the district has that in the future. That's my water back there.
Who's walking back there?
And that's all the year. There's a separate price. That's
Yeah.
That is it's something more so that's what we just also so you mentioned outdated. There you go, a little bit of stainless steel boiler system, but you're gonna have as of right now, people look like they limited project. So we're replacing all these things like the replacing two boilers from three, from four pumps, and that will start to see the side what I can. And I have I've seen this before. Yeah, because that's a big. Okay. It's so work that's happening. So, that's only about let's have that outside. Yeah, but it's just those 2% cost. So questions like those things there, maybe not. Yeah. Yes, sir.
You guys may want to move this back to the meeting because you're breaking up, and if you're going to have public participation asking questions, I think you need to move that out of there.
All right, we'll go that direction. It's just hard, there's no service down here.
Yeah, I understand that, but if we're going to allow the public in the boiler room and ask questions, I think maybe you need to herd the cats.
Yep, I advise Mr. Richard, I think he's handling that right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, maybe one there. But nobody could. I'll be allowed.
I hope that didn't hurt.
What's that? Walking down there?
Those meeting plans.
You have public discussion on public setting.
We didn't discuss, not down there.
Talk about anything in the room.
They just talked about.
He did on video.
But it wasn't a public setting.
We didn't discuss that. He just told us what was in the room.
We're at 9:01.
Yeah, the new room, yep.
All right, anything further, Mr. Boland?
Just the questions for them that I asked, for them to answer when we
Rick is
return.
coming in to get his computer.
Well, they need to explain what we're doing and why we're doing it. But it's not just a boiler replacement.
Rick will be here in a few minutes.
Is Mr. Walker on there?
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Tim, can you hear us?
Kim Walker? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Could you please, and it doesn't have to be done immediately, I'd like you to take a dive into what just happened. I don't believe that it was something that should have happened and is out of the scope of the board, and I don't believe the public should have been in discussions outside of a public viewing area, as well as down in an area where it could be considered dangerous. Could you please take a look into that and see if that's something we are able to do in the future?
Sure thing.
You have the original room drawing? And then proposed. This will give a lot of clarity as to, this isn't just a boiler replacement when you see this. Yeah. The IT guy's on his way.
Coming.
I can sit over there.
This is the actual computer you just want to log in. Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, they're on our server. Doesn't appear that I have lost audio, just so you're aware.
Oh, we're still on.
We're still here, Tim.
We're just waiting for him to bring up a drawing.
So.
They're not. They might not. They might hear you guys, I don't know. Just for this way. It's. It won't. It'll just automatically. Oh, really?
What they want you to do is just a day. What we're doing a lot of it.
Yeah, the old versus new and why.
I'm sorry, everybody, I apologize. I was not prepared to share all this. For the detail drawings. So.
Put you on the spot, but it's 5 minutes well spent.
Yeah, that's great.
There it is. So can you explain that drawing to everybody
I can.
as it is now? And then why you're proposing the new layout?
Okay. Do whatever you need to do. Go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry. Told you I wasn't prepared.
there it is.
I don't think we have to vote, doesn't say.
So we
Last 10
extended
minutes.
to this. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, this is,
Can they see it?
yeah.
Everybody
Sit here,
join?
sit
So I just got
Take from the
one.
table, see it?
Yeah, I'm just-
So you won't need to go-
There you go.
No, I can do it. All right, so this is the drawing from the renovation of 1995. Originally, which I can take you back to that drawing if you like, there was only 2 boilers in this room, one here and one here. Those are very large coal-fired boilers. Those boilers, I believe, are retrofitted to natural gas at some point in their lives, and were coal and natural gas. This big line right here is actually the old catwalk that went in between the 2 old coal-fired boilers. They still have, some of this still remains, you can see it down in the room. This section of catwalk was, for the most part, taken out. You can still see where it was attached to the steel. But in the original 1962 construction, you had these 2 large boilers here, and only these 2 circulating pumps. And in 1976, there was an addition put on the school where they needed more heating capacity. So they jammed this guy here over in the corner. This is another boiler rated about 3 million BTUs. And then they need another set of pumps to circulate the piping system for that section of the school. So there are sections of this school that actually have 2 separate heating supplies and 2 separate heating mains running in the same ceiling, some from 62 and some from 76. And then those 2 jobs were superseded by this job, which was 1995. They left the old boiler sit here and only replaced these 2 and left this guy from 76 as emergency backup. So there's so many different tie-ins and cut-ins and piping configuration changes over the years. We thought we should go back to the original design for that square footage of a central plant, which was 2 boilers, 2 main circulating pumps, revamp all the piping in that room to be more efficient, take up less space, to free up square footage for potential generator replacement and or upgrade. If you ever want to add cooling in this room, we would free up some square footage that you could add cooling. So your domestic hot water boiler that we showed you physically in the room, that's this guy here. It's mounted 4 foot away from your main switch gear. In fact, that let go a few years back, Leon. Where'd Leon go? And you had 6 or 8 inches of water in that mechanical room. The bottom of the switch gear was underwater. So we're looking to just free up square footage in the room and move some of these appliances around so you have safe service clearances around everything. Along with that, going from 3 boilers to 2 requires modification of the wiring, the circuiting for all the appliances. So all that stuff was required. Any questions?
Maybe quickly cover the breaching as well.
Yeah, so the old boilers currently vent, these 2 vent up the chimney as they originally intended. Our new boilers, we will eliminate all of that old rectangular breach that's going up the chimney. The new boilers will vent straight up through the roof. They're a condensing style boiler. They're much more efficient. So they will vent directly up through the roof. We'll also bring combustion air directly piped to each of the new boilers so that we can block off a lot of the combustion air that's pouring into the room untreated. So in the dead of winter, you have all this 0-degree air pouring in the room. So we can eliminate most of that because the appliances will be direct vented. Yeah, other than that, I mean, we're going to rig those boilers into the room. We're going to cut you a new access door, plan north through this wall out to the loading dock. so that we can effectively rig the new appliances in and the old appliances out. We're going to put a permanent rigging setup in there, so forever Leon will be able to bring the heavy pump motors and things in there to do maintenance and service. He'll have better access to that room than he does now. Now you have to bounce, a 250-pound motor down the steps. So we're going to improve that situation too while we're at it.
I have a question.
Yes.
So when you decided to replace the existing outdated boilers, did you look into a total heating system with exhaust air and makeup air intake, with condensing units, which would be similar to like a split unit in all of the school?
So do we look at a total school-wide HVAC upgrade?
Not just HVAC, I mean, well, yes, HVAC, but I'm saying changing the heating system to one that would be more energy efficient, since we're going into this expense and switching over to the split units and condensers.
You're referring to what would be a heat pump,
Yes.
I imagine?
Yeah.
Did we explore putting a heat pump in every area of the school? No.
Well, not in every area of the school. You would have where the heat pumps would be, the units would all be congregated, and then they would be running to the different areas of the school. And then, like, say this room would have like a split unit, depending upon the school, the size, depending upon the room and the area that it would. That's why. Did you look into that? Is that something that would have been feasible to do that, or is it because the school's already built and you don't have a blank canvas? Is that not doable? When you looked into just replacing these boilers, and since it was so antiquated, what made you choose to replace just the existing boilers when the pipes themselves were, you said thin, paper thin when you ran the camera down them? That's why I'm saying, if all of this is bad, would that have not been maybe the same cost and maybe be more energy efficient than going with this traditional system?
If you want me to take it.
You can take part of it, I can take the next part.
So it would have been, so your original school was built as a hot water heating system.
Mhm.
To transition away from that system type, in my experience, is a massive expense because you don't have enough power in all of the locations for those split systems. So you'd be drastically changing the system type. Typically would be much more expensive than what we're proposing. And what we're proposing is just the first step in a system upgrade, right? So your physical plant, your boiler plant is outdated. It's reaching the end of its useful life and the edge of obsolescence. So we looked at, for the entire building, how do we right size that heating plant, put the most efficient heating plant in that we can, so that for the next step, which would be replacing all the terminal equipment in the school, you could take the next step and even get more efficiency out of that boiler plant as you go. So this is one step of a full system replacement.
And you'd have to do it all at once as well. So that system, that unit to the right behind you is a hot water unit ventilator. So it's got a hot water coil in it.
Right.
So if what you're saying we'd have to do is we'd have to remove that and put a refrigerant coil in that unit. So you'd have to get everything would have to be new. Every single piece that's already hot water in this school would have to be new. And then
Would that have been able to have been run in the overhead system? Like use I don't know if these are drop systems or not, drop ceilings or not, but could those have been run overhead, the new ones, without having to?
Well, you already have
adapt?
that. What I'm saying is you already have that, and that works. And there's probably at least 12 other that are very similar to that in this school that were replaced 3 or 4 years ago. There's quite a bit of this. Like your system isn't all extremely old. There's portions of it that are. So we're going to take care of the portions that are, and it's already hot water. And you would have to run, again, the electrical is the big thing. You'd have to run separate electrical to each and every one of those units to power that system.
Well, that was my confusion, because when I was looking at the original almost 10 million that you guys wanted to do, you had in here electrical upgrades of almost $1 million. And then you had in here the air conditioning, which was, I don't know, like 1.8 million. And then the chiller, or was that the chiller plant? That's the 2.2 million. And then the boiler plant upgrades of 1.4. So what I'm saying is, when you looked at it in its totality, that's my question. By trying to keep the existing system to do all of what you were wanting, it was coming to a substantial amount of money. And that's why when I was questioning, had anybody looked at the other one? I mean, if you were gonna look at phases and spending all this money, was it going to be more, or, I mean, was there some other?
So where we've looked at those in the past, and you're correct to bring it up, the cost is more prohibitive than the schools currently spends on utilities. When you're looking at it from a payback perspective, the boilers that we're gonna put in here are 94+% efficient.
Okay,
So they're gonna be much more efficient.
so
than
those
the
are
ones
more
that
energy efficient than using those other type of units.
Those are more efficient from a heating source than the other units, yes.
Okay,
Now,
all right.
and then you've got the added cost of reviewing the electrical service for the new heat pump system and having to put in all new conduit, all new wiring, and all new controls for all those different types. You've got perfectly good equipment in a lot of these locations that doesn't need to, like, in our opinion, shouldn't be replaced. It's not a good use of the school district's money. So let's make the existing system and the way that it's structured most efficient. Going back to the piping issue, what we also said a couple of meetings ago was, we don't know with 100% certainty what the condition of the pipe is. We did some preliminary
Right,
tests.
you just said in some areas it
Right,
was.
but when we're able to now take out all the piping in the boiler room and put in all brand new piping, we're gonna have a much better sample size to look at that piping and say, okay, now this is more indicative of what's going on. And we're still gonna test certain areas in the school just to see if it's a consistent erosion of the piping.
Now, is
So
this
there may
boiler
be
still
pieces-
gonna take 52 weeks?
No, that was I don't know where that came from. That 52 weeks was the lead time for the electrical switchgear if it was gonna be part of the project. We can get those boilers in, I'm gonna say 6 to 10 weeks.
Because that first meeting, we were told 52 weeks to get the boiler, which is why we had to say yes to it now, because it would,
No, that was, if we said
That's
that, that was a
It was
misquote on our
split
part.
that
We've always worked under the intent that the boilers will be able to be provided within 10 weeks, because your heating season is gonna close down sometime in the middle of May. So we can order those boilers now, have them shipped to the site, work on
Yeah,
some
'cause-
piping behind the scenes.
I
and
mean,
then-
that was like a big thing, because we thought we had to do it right away, because
That was-
52 weeks, I mean, we all talked about it, and then I went and got comparisons, and the other contractors said 8 to 10 weeks, 10 to 12 weeks. So the 52 weeks was a real, because that's why we had to do it, because it could break within those 52 weeks, and, you know.
Yeah, so the 52 weeks was for, and it still is the lead time for the electrical switchgear, which the board elected not to make part of this first phase. So there's no long lead time items.
And what about, Andy just said that you guys do now have the schematics for the furnace,
Yes,
the drawings?
Yes.
Because last week, didn't you say you did not have that?
so,
I did.
yeah,
So I was
Andy thought we didn't have the design as far along as we have the design completely done, ready to go. We're gonna, if the board approves the moving forward of the project, we're gonna issue design submittals for Garrett probably and Andy to approve on the equipment, and then we're gonna purchase the equipment.
I have another side question too.
For the whole board.
You said that new boilers are 94+% efficient. Can you tell us what the efficiency of the older boilers was and what sort of savings we might anticipate?
So we looked at there was a combustion test on.
Yeah, I want to
Yeah, hold
interject
on,
something.
wait
Your
one
board
second.
as a board, we have one employee. It is Dr. Thomas. Our board does not approve anything. Drawings does not, they don't go to board members.
Recommendation comes from
Everything
me.
goes to Dr. Thomas.
And we went through the operations committee, which is a standard committee process that we redeveloped after we changed it to a committee of whole. It went back to individual committees, and the recommendation from the committee, from the operations committee, is to the board, including my recommendation as well. That's concurrent.
On a random note, I would like you to get with PSBA and schedule board training. We are way out of line on a lot of these things, and this needs to be reined in.
He just
And
asked.
is
if
there
we had any
anyone else
questions, which
sitting
is
on the
why I
board
asked.
right now that has any questions that haven't already been asked in the last 2 weeks? At this point, I feel like we're talking in circles and beating a dead horse.
I have a question that was asked
Go ahead.
but not answered
Yes.
about what the current efficiency is of the older units and what sort of savings in numeric terms you might expect with the new system.
So and I apologize, I don't have the numeric savings in front of me. It was in a previous report that we submitted
It's in
to
those
Dr. Thomas,
binders.
but I would, the new boilers will operate at 94+%. The older ones were operating down in the 70s. So it's probably a differential of about 25% efficiency difference.
Right, any further new questions that haven't been asked previously and answered previously? All right, seeing none, can we move on to our agenda items?
Did we have the second part about the comparisons of what was asked by the board last week? We were able to get North Clarion and also Keystone Elementary, I believe, and a few others, but I think that's an important time for the board, so they have the confidence with the recommendation on what the costs are comparable to 2026. Garrett, you mind if Garrett presents that? It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so I don't really have anything greatly prepared, but I did do quite a bit of research online. What 10 has talked about with the costs escalating over the last 3 to 5 years being significant is true. You can do simple Google searches on that and come up with the numbers that the materials themselves, due to multiple things, it's tariffs, it's COVID, it's supply chain shortages, material costs, especially things like copper, have skyrocketed. 30 to 50% just in materials, and installed costs are generally over that 5-year plan about 100% increase. So I just wanted to point out that I did quite a bit of research on that. The comparables that were presented by Mr. Baker, I just want to point out that those were simply boiler replacements. They were not anywhere close to the scope of the project that this is. You know, this is essentially rehabbing that entire room there's asbestos abatement involved. There's the pump replacements. It's just like they presented, it's changing the configuration around quite a bit. So it's not an apples to apples comparison is the main thing there.
Do we know if any change orders were made with those two?
Joe and Rob, about change orders made with those two. Would you present your graph? Would you do that, please? Your spreadsheet? You have that?
That's all I need to know is if
Yeah.
there were change orders made with those two schools.
What we did, it's public record that there were change orders
Okay.
made at one of the schools that I saw. I didn't find the other one publicly.
Yeah.
That's okay. I know change orders can rack up a lot of extra costs. I know with an ESCO, you don't do change orders.
And there won't, and to the point we made earlier, like there will not be any change orders here except if the district would like us to do more work associated with it.
Correct.
Right, so that's another benefit of the program.
And I also did want to point out that also not comparable apples to apples is that those units were 2 boilers at 4 million BTU each, so 8 million total, whereas this one is 2 at 5 million, so 10 million total BTUs. So it is a bigger system, 20% larger. You know, that accounts for some of the costs. And then the other one that was clear that 10 presented also to us was that it's clear that those two systems were not, you know, you can go through this type of a project and look at it in 2 ways: replace what you have with equivalent, or engineer the system and look at optimizing it. And those schools are about half the size of ours, but it's significantly smaller than ours. But the fact that their their new boilers are only 20% smaller indicates that they did not go through that fully engineered, optimized type process, and would have most likely just replaced what they had with the existing same BTU rating that was there before.
Joe and Rob, do you have that spreadsheet to share? I think that'd be helpful. Unless the board or operations committee.
I'd have to ask somebody. I think I sent it to you or Kim. I sent it.
Is there anyone on the board who really wants
You want to see the apples, or as close as we can get?
I don't. I'm good.
Cost of
I think
comparison.
Garrett made it pretty clear. Sabrina brought up the change orders. That's a big point too. Thank you for bringing it
Except
up.
for tariffs and, what's the other thing that's in your contract, tariffs and something else?
Yeah, so the pricing that we have now is guaranteed, so if there's a tariff increase between now and when we order the equipment, it's on us. We don't think there is, because we've already gotten pricing from
But
all
the
of them.
contract has a clause in there.
It does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that you can't.
That it would be visited between the district and.
Yeah,
and
which means you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever done a change order?
Tariffs and there was another, it was tariffs and something else. What was
I mean, any force majeure event that might
Yeah.
take place with respect to.
Which our attorney brought up, but it was still in the final contract.
How old is your company and how many change orders have you done?
We've been around since 2012, and we have issued no change orders for the scope of work that we promised to deliver to the customer. We've issued change orders for a lot of work that the customers requested us to do, because they like the work that we're doing while we're doing it, but we have not issued any change orders related to the scope. We've also, back to your point, which I think was a good one too, about the efficiency, we've always met our savings guarantees. So the numbers that we have proposed for this project, we're very confident that they're going to materialize for the district. So two things that we're very proud of.
What is the fee? If we decided after this job, we did not want to use you, what is the fee for you to pack up your stuff and leave?
They told us last meeting they wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't know
He
a
said
fee.
0.
Now you're saying zero.
This
Last week you
company.
told me there was a fee, but you couldn't tell me what the fee would
No,
be.
the
They
lawyer.
weren't here last week.
No, I mean, if you enter into this first phase of the contract, and I said this to somebody down in the boiler room, I can't remember who it was, but if we don't do a good job for you on this first phase, there's no obligation for you to use us for any remaining work. There's no obligation for you to pay us for any additional work.
No,
None.
because last week when I asked that question, we were told they couldn't tell us, but there would be a fee for you removing, all of your.
Leslie, that wasn't them. That was the attorney.
Okay, so the attorney said there would be a fee.
So there could
If we
be.
chose not
He
to do,
said
if we chose
typically
not
there's a
to,
fee.
to go on with phase 2 after phase 1, then we could be responsible for whatever contractors are here and them taking all their equipment back to the home base. And we decided there's no possible or feasible way for us to know what that cost would be.
So you're telling me there's not a fee then?
No,
Is it your company?
I started the company.
Then it's
Yeah,
0
well,
cost.
So my partner and I started the company. It's now owned by Duquesne. That's another important thing maybe hasn't surfaced here yet, is that the company is owned by Duquesne Light, right? A reputable, stable electrical utility that services Allegheny County and Beaver County. And so we have members of their board on our board. We meet quarterly. Everything is transparent. Everything is discussed with them. They back our company 100%. So there is, what we like to tell our customers is we're a small, nimble company that does things we think more cost effectively. I think that there's truth in the additional questions that the ops committee asked us. But we have the backing of a company that's got $4 billion worth of assets. So if there was anything to go wrong, you have that ability to go after our parent company. Bonds, performance bonds, payment bonds, warranties.
Hakkastein Mechanical, when did you, how long has that been, Rick, in business?
60+ years. I don't remember the exact date.
And you've worked on how many projects, would you say, boiler projects?
Boiler projects?
Things like that?
Me personally, hundreds. This is my 31st year.
So the costs and the information we're getting is from your experiences, from your knowledge, from knowing the market and going without a ESCO as your energy saving company, that we did an RFP over the past 2 years. If you remember, we did a facility study. And part of it was picking up with Hakkastein doing part of it, then with the efficiency network. Then we had HDG, the architectural firm, where we did field trips to schools, looking at more of the facade. And if there's any type of design, build or renovation projects, their architects would be involved. And then we got the bond counsel and the bond underwriter on board, 5 Groves. And the operations committee has been very transparent, reported out at every board meeting. And just as a piece, I think, Tim Wachter, can you hear me? Tim? Attorney Wachter? Tim, can you hear me? Hold on.
Got to change the computer.
Yep.
Sheila?
But you
Tim, can you hear me?
can't hear me.
Yeah, okay, we can hear you. Just so, I don't know where the information, how information got out about, that this wasn't real information, but we're not rushing this through. We're trying to do it timely fashion for 2025 on the bond, because we, as the operations committee and throughout the facilities study, found out and realized the junior senior high seems like the only constant right now that we have in our district. Not talking about the other elementary schools, not talking about the feasibility study, which will be coming here soon with the group that's doing the work, but trying to get the bond in 2025 or delaying it and waiting until calendar year 2026. What does that look like in potential increases in interest rates, selling of the bonds, timing, costs for running the ads, everything? What are we looking at as a potential cost? Not counting the inflation for the purchases of the boilers and the switches, which will delay the project potentially another full year. Tim, can you answer that?
I don't know how much more it would cost. I mean, it's gonna be like at that point, but I can tell you that by delaying the project, you are going to see an increase in the cost of borrowing.
So that's why we're bringing it to the board now. And the new board, when they're seated, will be able to go through and review phase two, which is Leslie, I think, which what you've been asking. I think Sabrina's asked it, and several others. You're going to have all the other buildings laid out in front of you and be able to have that dialogue as a public, in a public meeting, as a committee as a whole, to review and start making decisions, what would be phase two, what that would look like next.
So, a question. So you're saying in 1 week's time, you can guarantee that that will go up? Because the next board meeting is next week. You're telling me in 1 week's time, that's gonna go up?
I would tell, we cannot do a deal in 2025 if we wait any longer. If we don't do it tonight, we can't do the deal. There's not enough time to sell the bonds and get the approvals from the Department of Community and Economic Development before 2025 expires. What that then means is if you issue bonds next year, that would be in excess of $10 million. I mean, if you remember correctly, this deal was split so that you could do a smaller deal this year and a larger deal next year. That allows you to do both deals under the bank qualified rules from the IRS, which makes it a cheaper issuance to have. If you do the full project next year in excess of $10 million, then you're not going to be able to come with under the bank qualified threshold, which is going to make the cost of borrowing more expensive.
Well, I don't think any of us were looking to borrow $10 million, so I don't think that that would be an issue because you'd have to pay that back and make those payments.
This is Boyd, the board has not made that decision and they don't have the information to make any.
So the only thing we're rushing this for then is so that we can borrow 10 more million next year? That's the rush?
No, we're
No,
getting,
the rush is if you're going to do the deal in 2025, which you have asked us to put you in a position where you could do the deal in 2025, you need to do it today, or we're not gonna have enough time to make it happen this year.
Okay, but the only downside is we can go ahead and make the decision after we have all the information and then borrow what's necessary in one shot next year rather than applying multiple times, right?
No, you're not getting what he's
No.
explaining to you.
If you do it next year and it's larger than this, it's going to be more expensive.
If
I
it's,
don't know what the market is going to look like. The question of exactly how much more it would cost would be a question you'd have to ask your financial advisor. What I can tell you as bond counsel is that it would be more expensive likely to be more expensive next year than it is this year, just merely because of market conditions. But if you do a larger borrowing with a larger project that is in excess of the bank qualified rates and thresholds, then I can just about guarantee you it'll be more expensive. Just merely because the cost of borrowing increases once you get above that $10 million threshold.
I understand you completely.
so here's where we're at tonight before we get to the resolutions. We've done the facility study. We've discussed it. We've had in 2015 a feasibility study that provided information. Nothing was done with it. Then again in 2022, a second feasibility study, which turned out to be a false start. We decided as a board and as a committee, operations committee, not to do one major large project and stop doing all capital projects to drain the fund balance because that was not fiscally responsible at all. We've done a lot of work to this high school, upwards of $10 to $12 million, I believe. Is that pretty accurate, Mrs. Eaton? On the roof, the windows, STEM rooms, we're talking about the lighting, we're talking about control, what was it? Air handler systems. We've done a lot of work, and we put a pause on everything so we can get to this point. And instead of borrowing a very large amount with all of the community having to worry about how we're going to pay for it, we decided to do it very strategically, very rigid, to look in different phases and have the board get all the information, all the costs, and all the recommendations from the experts in the field that we're using in order to make those informed decisions. So, Madam President, tonight we have 2 resolutions to act on, and I have nothing else to say.
Something written that I'd like to say, and I asked him if I could say it earlier, and he said I could say it after you guys got back. So may I speak, please?
Of course.
Thank you. In July, we agreed to a feasibility study for all schools to determine improvements that are needed for the buildings, how much they would cost, and if the structures were viable, so that we would have all the information before we made any decisions. We did not receive this information. We were asked to borrow money and do some projects now at a much inflated price, and then months later, they would give us the following information so that we could determine what to do with the buildings. If you contract for these 2 items, you would have to pay an unknown fee if you do not want to use them for any more work, which they've said now that will not incur, but as of last week, that's what we were told. We can put boilers out to bid for less money. Local companies that have project managers and hire local contractors could give us prices. I understand that in the past, you have had issues with some of the contracts that you've had, but I don't believe, I believe that most of those issues were with the contracts themselves and having everything within the 4 corners of the page. Financially, the last report we received in July that I have here stated that we would have $3,894,174 projected for next year in the fund account. Now, I was told when I had asked before about our PSSA scores and the kids and why they were so low, the bottom third. I was told we were in a very economically depressed area, which I agree, I understand. But that is still the case right now, that we are. I think that this amount is in excess, and I think that even when you look at our own budgets and our own households, that if we would be giving a bid for something in our house and it was high, we would go out and do our due diligence and we would get another bid or another bid just to make sure that we were getting the best price possible. And I think that when this is the taxpayers' money, I think we have to do our due diligence. And I don't understand why this could not wait till the new board was seated next week, because those people are the ones that are going to be responsible for dealing with the rest of this. And that's just all I have to say. In the most respect.
But in all due respect, we can't keep pushing every project down the road.
And we do
Agree or
have that
disagree with this, we
spreadsheet.
can't just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and never making a decision.
I'd like the board to see a spreadsheet that would look at Mrs. Boyer's concerns and hopefully make her feel at ease.
Actually,
Carla, would you?
Can I?
Go ahead.
I'd like a motion to vote at this point. I'm tired of talking in circles over this. So I'm going to throw a motion on the table that we take a vote on item 6.
Second.
And you'll second it. Sheila, will you take roll call on taking a vote on item 6 and 7, please?
Is this 6 minutes?
Together? Can you read them?
All we're doing is seeing if we're going to a vote at this point, stopping this end discussion and going to a
On
vote.
my Zoom, I can't pull my agenda. That's all. Like I can't watch.
They're 2 separate.
They're 2 separate items, Mrs. Ferry, and all we're doing at this point is taking a vote on whether we're going to end discussion and move to voting on the agenda items. So a vote of yes will end discussion, a vote of no will continue discussion.
This is just a vote to vote, yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
All right, Mr. Boland,
Yes.
Mrs. Boyer,
This is just to end discussion? Yes.
Mrs. Berry,
Yes.
Mrs. Hartsfield,
Yes.
Ms. Lida,
Yes.
Mr. Loman,
No.
Mr. Richburg,
Yes.
Mr. Stafford,
Yes.
Mrs. Backer.
Yes. Motion carries, so we'll move on to our agenda items. Item 6, it is recommended for the board to take from the table a motion regarding the approval of the GISA services contract between the Efficiency Network Incorporated, that's our ESCO, and the Franklin Area School District for the boiler plant upgrades and domestic water heater upgrades at the junior senior high school at the amount not to exceed $1,752,083 as presented as Resolution 17 of 2025 and the attachment. That will read, be it resolved that the Franklin Area School District Board of School Directors approves the Guaranteed Energy Savings Act services contract with the Efficiency Network Incorporated for boiler plant upgrades and domestic water heater upgrades at the junior senior high school at an amount not to exceed $1,752,083. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of School Directors of the Franklin Area School District hereby approves the services contract attached hereto for the project and directs its president and secretary to execute it accordingly. Is there such a motion? I'll take the motion from Ms. Lida. Is there a second? I'll take the second from Mr. Boland. Any further questions or discussion?
Can I just explain why I'm voting? It's very little. I'm
course.
voting the way I am. I'm not saying the boiler doesn't need replaced, but I do agree if anyone local is able to do comparable work that is local, they would want to keep a good reputation and it would support local business. Not downplaying what these companies have done. What they're doing is needed to see what project needs looked at first in what order. But I am hoping sooner than later we look at victory. I'm voting on how Mr. Baker and Mrs. Ham would want me to vote since they will be replacing myself and Mr. Richburg next week.
You need a roll call for this? Board members, roll call or you? Okay, roll call? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Boyer,
No.
Mrs. Berry,
Yes.
Mrs. Hartsfield,
No.
Ms. Lida,
Yes.
Mr. Loman,
Yes.
Mr. Richburg,
Yes.
Mr. Stafford,
Yes.
Ms. Backer,
Yes.
Mr. Boland.
Yes.
Carried and so ordered.
9-2.
Item 7.
7-2, sorry.
It is recommended that the board, it is recommended for the board to take from the table the motion regarding the authorization of the insurance and sale of the amount not to exceed $2,500,000 general obligations bond series 2025 to finance capital projects at the junior senior high school presented as Resolution 18 of 2025. Be it resolved that the Franklin Area School District Board of School Directors authorizes the issuance and sale of an amount not to exceed $2,500,000 general obligation, which is a limited tax bonds series of 2025. The resolution, when enacted, will authorize the sale of the bonds to the purchaser, will approve the form of bonds, fix the rates of interest to be paid, approve the amortization schedule for the payment of interest and principal on the bonds, pledge the full faith, credit, and taxing power of the school district for the payment of the bonds as a general obligation of the school district, creating a sinking fund, and authorize the Board of School Directors and the officers of the school district to take necessary steps to issue the bond and to obtain the approval of the Department of Community and Economic Development. The funds to be obtained from the sale of the bonds will be used to finance the capital purchases for and the installation of boiler plant upgrades and domestic hot water upgrades at the Franklin Junior Senior High School, and to pay for the cost of issuance of bonds. Be it further resolved that the Franklin Area School District Board of School Directors hereby authorizes Sabrina S. Backer, Board President, and Kimberly Eaton, Board Secretary, to prepare, certify, and file the required debt statement and take all necessary actions on behalf of the school district. Is there such a motion? I'll take the motion from Mr. Richburg. Is there a second? I'll take the second from Mr. Boland. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, another roll call, please.
Mrs. Berry,
Yes.
Mrs. Hartsfield,
No.
Ms. Lida,
Yes.
Mr. Loman,
Yes.
Mr. Richburg,
Yes.
Mr. Stafford,
Yes.
Ms. Backer.
Yes.
Mr. Boland,
Yes.
Mrs. Boyer.
No.
Carried and so ordered. Before we go to adjournment, I do want to remind board members, per our school district policy, a vote has been taken. We will move forward with the vote. This will not be brought back up for further discussion, and everyone is to move forward as if they voted yes on this. No negative discussion is to be had by anyone who voted against what the winning vote was. All right, with that, a motion to adjourn, please. Take the motion from Ms. Lyda. Is there a second? I'll take the second from Mrs. Hartsfield. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried and so ordered. Let the record show we adjourned at 7:16 p.m.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Mr. Walker, are you still on?
I am, yes.
We will get the signatures tomorrow in front of a notary.
I
Or-
can't promise that.
No, we'll get those as soon as possible. And
Sorry, there's some background there.
we need to get you the signatures. We will get you these signatures tomorrow.
You got to call him. You have to call him.
Yeah, well, I'll call.
Okay, so I'm working 7 to 3. I have got to go pick up a new kid for my daughter by 4 o'clock.
Right.
That would, he can do it.
Thank you.
Of
everybody.
course you
Yes.
can.
No, we're gonna keep it, get somebody else. Oh, okay. Yeah. Why don't we get somebody else to connect? Ron?
Put me.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, get somebody else now.
Write Dennis on
Just in
there.
case they want me back.
Yeah. Except the one that's like.
Why, Randy? He was the robotics review.